Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. Ben Brackett here, Soccer Talk co-host with my good pal, Blake Sievers. We are down at the U.S. Soccer Convention hanging out, and we just got a really, really great interview, didn't we, Blake?
We did, and it's
Would you call it exclusive?
absolutely. And I think it's the first time we've ever had the active Des Moines Menace coach on the pod.
This is true.
We've definitely talked to quite a few of the coaches in their history.
Yeah,
but,
and Coach McKeever, we gave him a little halftime interview.
Yep.
But definitely our first big interview.
Yeah. So what a guy. We'd never met the guy, but super willing to give us some time, a cool story. And I think our good buddy Chuck Bales got it right.
Well, hey, Bales.
Yeah.
So why don't we just hop into it? Enjoy the chat we're going to have here with Deano, which apparently that's not what we call him, but that's going to catch on. We're going to make it a thing. So enjoy the chat with him, and we'll catch you soon. All right, Dean Johnson, welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Yeah, bit cold, but living the dream here in Kansas City. So
well, we took him on a bit of a run around in Kansas City here, so you should be probably a little cold.
Yeah.
No long underwear.
No, you didn't give me the nod before I got here about that. I wish you did.
Ben's also completely led us on like a 6-block walk through the downtown Kansas City streets trying to find a bar to have a drink.
That's 100% true. So thanks for joining us. I'm gonna guess that Charlie Bales didn't give you the heads up to listen to the pod before you came on, or did he?
No, he kind of gave me a little indication that what you guys do, but not a full rundown in any way. So
good man, Charlie.
All right. So our first question for all of our podcasts is this the first pod you've ever been on?
No, I actually
got an expert. I like it.
I used to, and this is going to sound crazy as well, I used to run kind of my own one on YouTube, though. It wasn't technically a podcast, if you like. And I used to interview other college coaches and ask them about the game and like their experiences. So like the younger coaches can kind of learn from it. So I've done a few little things like that. I used to have a channel on YouTube. I don't do it anymore, but that would probably been the first kind of podcast-ish stuff that I did.
Have you been on like the other side of it where you're at now?
No, I haven't. I've always been the one asking the questions. So
makes sense. So we actually went on our first pod yesterday.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit different and weird.
Yeah.
We actually at one point took the pod over, flipped the script, and started interviewing.
Yeah, we definitely hijacked it.
I figured that's probably what would happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard not to. So on our trek over, we got a little bit of an idea of like who you are and what you're about. But tell us, we like to just give the origin story, and obviously nobody else was listening to us trudge around Kansas City. So give us the roots.
So I was born in Watford, which is kind of just outside of London. So for when I'm in America, most of the time, if people ask me, I'll say I'm from London because people know London. But it's a kind of a smaller city outside the city, if you like. So I was born there.
But not a Watford fan.
Not a Watford fan. My mum was growing up, but she got converted really quickly by the rest of our family to Chelsea. So got a lot of friends that are Watford fans, but it's not my team. I grew up there pretty much my whole childhood. Started playing as a young kid in Watford, local teams. My dad was my coach when I was a kid and made my way up through the ranks. And then I ended up coming out to the US. I think it was 2011 is when I came out here.
And how old are you at that point?
I want to say I was 19.
I was still a young guy then.
Yeah, I was young. I think I was supposed to come out the year before, but it didn't work out. And then I went on a couple trials with some different teams in England and ended up coming out 2011 to Wyoming. So that was kind of my journey of how I got out to America.
The big sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about like, keep going though. I mean, like, so you're in college in Wyoming at
Northwest College. It was called. It was in the smallest town I've ever lived in my life. It's called Powell, Wyoming. We didn't even have a Walmart. We didn't have anything.
Powell?
Yeah, Powell. So
where's that in relation to like?
It's near Yellowstone. So
Okay.
people know Yellowstone now because Kanye West, and he lives in Cody. Cody was
Kanye West. That's shocking.
Yeah, Cody was 30 minutes from Powell. So we used to go to Cody to hang out and stuff. And I think Yellowstone's 25 minutes or so from Cody. So
that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you on your way over here was like, what, are you an outdoorsman in any way?
I wasn't, to be honest.
So you don't have a choice.
No,
though,
I
up there, do
wasn't.
you?
But like I've lived in some really, really rural areas now, including where I'm at now, and I think I'm adapting to it a little bit.
Very good.
In London, I wasn't at all. I was a typical city boy. All my friends kind of do the same thing. We weren't big on fishing or anything like that. But since I've come to America, I've got more into that side of stuff. And
So is fishing your thing?
no, some of my friends.
You're
I'm not a
hiking? What are you
fisherman.
doing?
I
You
like
hunting?
hiking.
Not hunting.
I've been hunting once when I lived in Wyoming. It was fun, but too cold, and we walked around for hours and didn't see any animals. So like for me, it wasn't the best experience. But even in West Virginia now, you know, we go to the rivers in the summer and hang out at the river and stuff like that. And like in London, we don't have that. So
Sure.
I think I've adapted to my surroundings for sure, and it's definitely different than what it was back home.
You'll enjoy summer in Des Moines then.
Yeah.
Des Moines, all right.
Yeah, it's humid though.
Yeah,
Like, it'll
it's
be
a little
hot,
warm.
it'll be humid.
It's toasty,
Yeah, most places over here in America though, compared to
everywhere,
England,
right?
are
Yeah.
humid. So
Yeah, you'll fit right in then.
Yeah.
You'll be good. So then, so you played how many years in Wyoming?
I played for 2 seasons. I was supposed to leave after 1, but I had some problems with my eligibility with NCAA. So I ended up playing for 2. We done really, really well. We had a good team. An English coach brought in a lot of international kids there, which for that small town was crazy because there's hardly anyone that lives there. So we had a lot of guys from all over the place, Brazil. We had some guys from Texas. We had some English guys and a couple of local guys. So we done really well. We went to the national tournament. I was lucky enough to be an All-American there and do really well individually, which helped me to move on when I got done. But I ended up spending 2 seasons there, 2 years. I've got an American family there now, everything that is like my American mum and dad. So like I had a really good experience. I wouldn't have thought that when I first got there because of how small it was. I was kind of in a shock going from a big city to a really, really small place. But overall, it was a great experience in Wyoming. I think that's one of the places I will always have that home if I want to go and visit. And I like it a lot down there.
Very good. That's where do you fly into? What, you like fly to Denver and then drive?
There's one
Billings?
in Montana.
Yeah, Billings, Montana.
Billings. There's actually one in Cody, but it's really expensive to fly into. So usually Billings was the best option, and you have to drive about 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Billings, which is not the best, especially if there's snow on the ground and stuff like that. But yeah, flying was not the easiest to get there for sure.
So okay, so you get 2 years there. What do you do
Yep.
next?
So I signed to go to Gardner-Webb in North Carolina, Division I school.
Yeah, not everybody's heard of Gardner-Webb probably, but
it's a Division I school in Boiling Springs, North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah, well,
So,
yeah. But
yeah.
I'm just saying
And-
it's not
Yeah,
like
it's
it's not a household name, but
No,
it's,
no, no.
it's a
It's-
legit
and they
good
were-
program, all that good
They
stuff.
were decent. Like, I had a couple different options, and I ended up going with what was best for me financially.
Probably better than Drake and Brown these days.
Maybe.
Definitely.
I ended up choosing Gardner-Webb, and again, it didn't work out because of my eligibility stuff. I'd signed my staff, we planned to move down there and everything, and the coach called me and said, "Hey, NCAA took away all your years of eligibility. You can't play in Division I." So I was like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?" So he tried to shop me around to some Division II schools in the area. Then NCAA said, "No, you can't play Division II either." So I ended up having to go NAIA. I had to find a school within 3 weeks, or I had to go back to England. So I was in a really bad spot.
Like visa issues.
Yeah,
Okay.
visa stuff. I was in a bad spot. And a couple of my friends from my junior college had transferred to a school in Kentucky called the University of Pikeville, who at the time were the worst NAIA school in the country, bar none. The worst. But they offered me a full scholarship and said, if you can get here by Monday, you're in, you don't have to pay anything. And I said, well, I've got no
Start
options
walking.
right now. Let's do it. Me and my friend went down. We drove from Wyoming. Got
That's a
over
drive.
there. It was long. We got over there and I was there for 1 year. Again, the coach did a great job. He brought in some really good players. We had the best season in school history. I done really well individually again. And it was good. It just wasn't the level that I was looking for. So I ended up deciding that I wasn't going to go back to Pikeville. And my plan was actually to go back to England. And then I played in the USL 2 that summer
For
and West Virginia Kings Warriors. And the coach there, where we played, there's an NAI school where we were playing in the town. And the coach there would come to my games every weekend, like, just come here and we'll graduate you and you don't have to pay. And he ended up convincing me to do my senior year. So I played for him my senior year, and and finished my college career pretty much.
Where was that at?
Bluefield College is called. It's actually called Bluefield University now. They just changed it this year. But it's another small town, West Virginia, Christian school. But we done well. We went to the national tournament and had a good year again. And wasn't the perfect college career of what I planned when I came to America. Kind of had to run around a little bit, but it worked out good for me. And I managed to get my degree and not have any debt or anything like that. So in that aspect, it was good.
I was like, if you've got your degree, then like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like it's all the same at a certain point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned some personal success. Before we hopped on the pod, you said you were like a winger who turned into like a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
It's like all that. If you have personal success, are we talking goals, assists? Like what was your
Tackles?
thing? Yeah. Or you you don't look like a crunching tackle.
No, I wasn't. I was a speedy little winger when I first came out. And my thing every year was I had to get 10 goals, 10 assists. That was my thing. If I got that, I was happy. And I managed to do that all 4 years. So like for me, that was good because I hit my objectives that I wanted to do.
It's a well-rounded player.
Yeah, and even when I went to CDM, like I still got it done somehow. Like I score penalties or whatever it took, I would do it.
I like
because I wanted to get
the guy that counts the penalties as goals.
Yes,
I love
100%.
it. I would too. Absolutely,
100%. But yeah, I was an All-American twice. I was first team all conference every year. So I did pretty well individually, and my teams did pretty well too. You know, everywhere we always went to national tournament or at least got to conference finals and stuff like that. So it wasn't the perfect college career, but it worked out in the way that I was still able to be successful and have some success myself.
Did you look to continue playing when you got done?
Yeah, I did. I went around with a few USL teams, and the main problem, to be honest, back then, and it seems like a long time ago now, was the money situation with the teams, because I'd spoke with a few and they said, we can give you this, we can give you that. And I'd have been paying more in bills than what they were paying me. So it wasn't really a path that at that time would fit for me.
Yeah, we're a little older than you, but if you'd gone back to 2007-8 to try to play past college, like you were like basically paying to play. Like there was almost no, unless you were in that top little, you know, like you got drafted in the MLS and then you got to go play on a reserve team where you just kind of got discarded unless you were a player.
Yeah, and I went and spoke with one team that I was really interested in, and I didn't understand the system at the time because I thought I'm a really good player, like I can play at this level, no problem. And then they signed Joe Cole 2 weeks later, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
You can't argue with that, can you?
Like you've got an international spot, you're not going to give it to me over Joe Cole. So it was tricky, and it wasn't really a path that I wanted to go into in the long run of like scraping to survive just to keep playing. Even though I know I probably could have if I wanted to. I think I was pretty smart at that age that I was like, I need to figure out something that's going to work in the long run.
So then the transition to coaching, is that the first thing, or what did you major in, or did you?
Yeah, I went straight into coaching. So I went back to my junior college in Wyoming, worked for my old coach. And he was the one that kind of taught me how to kind of work the college game and the recruitment side. And
the JUCOs, like there's a ton of like, I don't know if it's weird is the right word, but there's definitely some different
unique.
Yes, unique. Like requirements.
Yeah, in junior college, you learn everything. You have no choice. And my first ever head coach job was at a junior college in Texas, and you have to do everything. And when I say everything, it's like
coaches, running your own business.
Yeah, some coaches I talked to that are fortunate enough to be at the big Division I schools and they've never really done that stuff. They would be amazed at the things you have to do at JUCO. You cut your own field, you line your own field. You're the admissions counselor. You do everything you can.
You don't have a director of operations?
No.
I heard somebody get that title the other night, and I was like, "That's a thing."
It's
unbelievable, isn't it? Like nowadays,
it's crazy. The game is evolving for sure in college, but junior college it's hard, but it's good hard because you learn everything, and then when you go to the next level, you already know what you're doing in every aspect, and then more than likely you're going to get help from other people. So
appreciation too, don't you, for like the guys that are cutting the grass, that are
for sure. It's not an easy life, man, especially in Texas in that heat out there cutting the grass. And it was tough, but
I bet you had a big old hat, right, Dean?
I actually had a big farmer hat.
Yeah, you needed that.
Guys would laugh at me. The crickets would be flying out of the field at me all the time, and it was crazy, man. And it's stuff like that I appreciate, because if I didn't do that stuff, I wouldn't appreciate that I don't have to do it anymore. So for me, it was a good experience. But I went from Wyoming to an NAI school first in Texas as well, called Wayland Baptist. and I was in charge of bringing the players in. So I was the recruitment guy pretty much. And we done really well. We won the national championship. We won 2 conference championships, regular season, tournament. We had multiple All-Americans, and that was what kind of led me to get my first head coaching job, because people saw that, oh, he's gone there and they've done really well. They've won nationals. So that started to get me some looks with other teams. And that took me to Northeast Texas, where I was driving the tractor around cutting the field.
So not to like jump ahead, but you kind of mentioned just that like recruiting was something that was like an important part of like what you were bringing to the table as a coach. And I have to imagine that is a main reason why we're sitting here talking to you as the new Des Moines Menace coach, because that's the job, right? You're just recruiting, and you got kids coming in for young men coming in for 3 months, if that.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most.
And they have to come to Des Moines, which obviously you went to Wyoming.
I think
and West
recruiting,
Virginia, but
recruiting is probably the most underappreciated part of the job, because I think there's some really, really good coaches soccer-wise in college, but the best teams always have the best recruiting. So like, it sounds kind of bad to say, if you don't have good players, it's going to be really hard to win, regardless. And the ones that can connect with the players they're trying to bring in and convince them to be a part of what you're trying to do, for me, is the biggest aspect at the moment in college. Because if you can get 20, 25 guys in that are top level, that want to be there for the same reasons as each other and the same reasons as the coach, more than likely that leads to success more than the actual on the field coaching and the tactics. And that stuff is great. I don't think that's a bad part of being a coach, but I think the recruitment side and the relationship sides with the players is probably the biggest thing right now in what is making people successful or not.
when it's recruiting, like the actual relationship piece, but then you also have to be able to like spot like, okay, that's a good player, not
sure.
just like, oh, like Blake's a good dude, I like Blake, but like can't kick a ball. Like, that doesn't help you.
Yeah, I think you got to have the eye for the talent as well. And sometimes it's obvious. You will see some kids that it's clear this kid is very good. But I think it's the other kids that you succeed with, the ones that maybe other people don't see. We had a guy this year that was our defensive player of the year. He's from Maryland. He didn't really get recruited. He played Division III junior college. We brought him in, and he killed it for us. He was an All-American. He made it onto the MLS draft list. And I think it's them guys that help you to be successful more than the ones that are clearly obvious that this kid is very good. If you're getting sent a kid from Real Madrid in Spain, like, he's probably going to be very good. But it's the other ones, just the hidden ones. If you can find them too, that's key for sure.
What's your secret then?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you looking for?
Yeah, what makes you a successful
don't tell your
recruiter?
secret.
Yeah,
you
you
just
should be like, everybody's
doesn't
gonna-
reveal a secret.
I don't think I have a secret. I think I work really hard, which is definitely a big part of it. I'd never come off my phone 24/7. I'm on my phone talking to people. Like, I can't tell you how many different kids I get sent every day. Like, hey, look at this kid, look at this kid, look at this kid. I'll look at all of them. And I don't think I leave any stones kind of untouched, if that makes sense. So
Sure.
I do the work.
Scorched earth policy.
Yeah, I do the work, and like I'm not scared to do that. Like, if it means I'm gonna win, I'll do it. If whatever you need me to do to make sure I'm gonna win this season, next season, whenever it is, I'm willing to do that. So I don't think there's a secret to it. I think it's you either want it or you don't want it, and how much do you want it? Because I will go and watch games that maybe other people won't watch, or talk to kids at 3, 4 in the morning in Iceland or wherever it is, just to make sure that they know, like, I want them to come with me. So I think that's the main thing. I think it's just putting in that bit of extra work that maybe some people don't want to do that.
So what's the plan this summer for the Menace? How do you getting these guys to Des Moines?
We have already started to speak with a few, and we're hopefully getting a few wrapped up soon.
I imagine, and not to like, I imagine that there's like guys from last year that want to come back.
There's
right?
a lot of interest in general.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
because the team's been really successful, and
Yep.
it's historically one of the better teams in the league anyway, even though.
So now your job is to like pick the right ones.
Yes, I think piecing together the right parts to make a successful team now is going to be the main part of the job. But yeah, we're going to look at guys from everywhere. We've got some guys from junior college, from NAI, from Division I, Division II that we're looking at. And I think just finding the right guys, not just the best players, but that also have the mentality that are going to fit with me and my staff to make sure we're successful is going to be big. But it's a process. It takes a bit of time, and we're hoping we can start getting some of them signed in that we're 100% sure on already. but we'll see.
I think it's always challenging. Sorry, Ben, if you had
No,
somebody
I'll remember
like
it.
the summer, right? Guys have their college kids
Yep.
at the end of the day, and they've got weddings. They want to go to the lake. Like it's the summer.
Yep.
So like it's very rare all 20 plus guys there for the entire
Yeah.
season without missing a weekend here or.
But the standard that the Menace have at this point, like it's hard. You're also going to get guys that are like, no, I am going to be there every single
Yep.
time. So if you say, hey, I got to go to the lake, it's like, that makes your job easy. You go like,
Yeah,
all right, have fun,
100%,
man. Go on.
100%. And
Like there's somebody new coming in that wants your spot like really bad.
yeah, and that's a staple of my teams in the past is mentality wise, my teams are always very strong and they're there for the right reasons. And I mean, we're in Elkins, West Virginia for college, and it's a small town, and we've got kids from everywhere all over the world. And it's not the best place to live for them. They could easily go and live in New York or LA or Miami or wherever they wanted, but they're there for two reasons. They're there because they want to win and they want to graduate. And that's kind of what we hammer into them all the time is you're here for that. You're not here for Elkins, or you're not here for partying and stuff like that. If you want to do that, then you shouldn't be playing with us, because that's not what we're here for. So I think mentality wise is going to be huge, especially with the summer, because it does get tricky with, you know, you have to deal with the college coaches as well that want you to look after their players, and everyone wants their guys to play, and it can be hard. But I think finding the right balance and making sure that the mentality of the team is good is going to be massive.
So what's like the Dean Johnson's locker room look like? What's like the training session mentality? Like, you know, are you like pushing those guys to like crush each other every day, or is it like
They're going to work hard for sure. I think I expect the best from everyone every day. Like I try to make my sessions as fun as possible as well.
As a former player, right? You're like, okay, I'd want to play in that session.
Yes.
In theory, right?
And like I jump in sometimes with my guys at college, and like I can tell when I'm playing if the session is where it needs to be. That makes sense. So like the intensity for me has to always be high. Like I don't want to say treat it like a game, because a game is different, but I expect you to play the best you can at practice. I don't want guys that are just going to be kind of walking around and going day by day. So like I'm going to expect them to be working hard, intense, take it seriously. Because at the end of the day, the guys that come and play with us this summer are going to have a chance to go on and play professionally somewhere. So if you want to be a pro, you got to act like a pro. So I think if they do that over the summer, everyone's on the same kind of path. It could be really, really successful, but a lot of it is going to be up to the players if they want to do that or not.
Are you kicking guys and getting kicked when you jump in? Because
they definitely kick me.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Definitely
like,
do.
man, that would be great. Just
they definitely kick me for sure.
Well, that's why that would be the. I mean, I would only do it with like the kids I was definitely better than. You know, like I was the 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
But they're like flying and want to murder me, and I'm like, hey, now come on.
Yeah, because you chirped them about doing something silly, and they're like, oh, this is my
I play
chance.
with my girls team sometimes at the end, and they try and kill me. Like they might be worse than the guys, but sometimes it's good because it brings the intensity up a little bit. That coach is going to play. Like they want to do good because they want to prove you wrong, or they want to show you that they're better than you. And sometimes it's good to do that, I think. So I've definitely come out with a few bruises every now and then from training, but it doesn't matter to me.
What attracted you to the job to apply in the first place?
I think career path-wise, it's a good job. You know, I have aspirations to try and get as high as I can possibly with coaching. I think it's a good step in the right direction in that regard. It's always something I've wanted to do since I was an assistant for West Virginia Chaos, and we didn't have the best experience there, but it was interesting because it is different than college. You're dealing with different personalities, you're dealing with the coaches, you're dealing with a load of different aspects, and I was interested by it when I did it then. So when I ended up speaking to the guys and kind of talking about it, it was something I'm like, yeah, well, why not? This could be a good opportunity for me to showcase myself kind of at the next level, and I can also help some other guys now that can potentially move on to be professional, which I'm all about that. If I can help other people and enhance their lives and enhance their careers, I'll always do that as well. So,
well, what the Menace has done that's pretty interesting, because like, I mean, I've played some years in the PDL. I know Blake did. Blake played for the first Menace champions back there in 2005. And it's as a full-time college player, then you're coming in, but as a coach, like the coaches that we had back then, they were full, like they came for the Menace, and then they were the Menace coach all year round. And so, and not that that's good or bad, I'm just curious, like from your standpoint, you're going in almost like similar to the players, where like these players are like, all right, I want to be a pro.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, like I can go, I'm going to be a part of that program and hopefully
do big things, and then that's like the next step. And so I think it's really interesting the way Menace has done that.
Yeah,
It's not
for
really
sure.
going to question. It's just a
Yeah.
statement of like because back in the day, that was back when Blair Reed was the coach or running the show, like that wasn't it was just like a
Yeah, it's changed. It's
yeah,
developed
for sure.
For sure.
It's
There is some pressure though. Like, I mean,
I was gonna say,
like
big
the
shoes
crowd's
to
thing, like,
fill.
I mean, the players are treated unbelievable. Like the what they offer the Menace. I mean, it's top class first run, but like it's cool. I love it because like you have to win. There's a ton of USL2 teams that like don't really, there's not expectations to actually win games and do some things. So like that's what the part I love is like, man, like there will be people that come to the games. There's the supporters groups that are like singing, throwing streamers and stuff, and like guess what? You're expected to win.
I love that, man. I love that. I mean, for me, the best games that I've been involved in as a college coach is when the fans are abusing me and everyone's shouting at me, and I love it because for me, that's what it's like back home. Growing up, that's how our sport is at home. That was something that I spoke with the guys about when we done one of the Zoom calls. Was sometimes in college you don't have that pressure to win as much as I would like there to be, because there's a lot of coaches in college that kind of cruise through and just do what they need
A winning
to do.
season is good enough.
Yeah, and for me, like, I don't want to say we have to win national championship every year because it's not realistic, but that's always our goal wherever I'm at. Whatever team I've been at, it's like, this is where we want to be. This is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. So, like, I'm not one to set low expectations or anything like that. If we're going to come and do this in the summer, why not do the whole thing and win the whole thing? And that's kind of the mentality that we're going to push with them. And that's just how all my teams have been ever since I've been a coach, because I think if you don't set the limits high, you're never going to get there. So that's definitely something that interested me, was that there is that little bit of pressure and you have to win, and like you're expected to win, and like I expect that of myself anyway. So I think the culture fits really well personally for me.
It's an interesting conference too. Like you've got some travel you got to deal with.
You just see they announced
just
like a
changed.
new. They're not the Heartland anymore. It's like
They just
North
changed it, yeah.
Central or something like that.
Yeah, with Thunder Bay.
Yeah, so you've got that Thunder Bay
Minnesota
trip.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There's the Minnesota team. I did see that.
Yeah. It's a new one, so it's gonna be different for sure.
Yeah, they were all going all over Twitter like crazy about they're not the Heartland division now. It's something else.
Can't be Kings of the Heartland
and
anymore.
the Red Army and the
Society.
are just they're just going crazy. So
You'll have a good time getting to know the supporters groups for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I just think it's a challenging season no matter what. Like sorry, I was gonna say PDL, the USL too.
Yeah, I always say that as well. Yeah.
So the USL too is like it's a challenging. Again, it's like a sprint. Everybody's new, and then like it's not like it's like when I used to play in the New England region, whatever, I don't know what we were called, but like the furthest trip we had was like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like your average trip is like 6 hours.
It's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of traveling. I think it can be good and bad though, to be honest. Sometimes that's good for the guys that get to experience new things and see new places and stuff. So I don't think it's all bad, but it's definitely some drives for sure.
yeah, you bond on the bus, don't you? I mean, those I guess the buses nowadays are unbelievable. They're like sleeper buses. Like we never had that. It was.
I still remember going to like a Colorado trip, and we had like a handful of African guys on the team, and the coach decided that we should go whitewater rafting, and it was like a whole ordeal. They were just terrified. They're like, this does not seem like a fun thing. So you talk about those experiences, like I'm sure that's something they're never going to forget.
Yeah, 100%. We had the same thing when we were in West Virginia Chaos, that they went to Canada. I couldn't even go because of my visa, so like half our team couldn't go, and like there's a lot of logistic stuff that goes into it, but I think you can make the most of it any way you want, really. The guys that got to go to Canada, they probably loved it. They probably had a great time. So yeah, I think you can look at it both ways, but I'm excited, to go and play all these different teams in different places and see new areas, and hopefully the guys that come with us are the same way.
Yeah, I mean, my last little thing is like, I mean, expectations are you have to win it again.
Yeah, I think so. So. And I wouldn't have took the job if I don't think we could. So I think
that is basically, I mean, not to like pile the pressure on, but that's the expectation.
But they're realistic, right? You're getting support. Like they're like they
should be one of the best teams every year for sure. I think
we'll be there every week to watch.
With what they have, the setup, and it should be one of the top teams every year in the league. Everything they have there is set to be there. Of course, soccer is a crazy game. You can lose a game on one shot or one set piece or whatever it is, but for the most part, with how the Menace is ran and everything that is already set in place and established, it should be one of the best teams every year in the league, 100%.
Well, with the excitement brewing for the downtown stadium and all that fun stuff, like you've got a community that it's like is really excited and behind you and like wants to. Of course, we want to see success,
Yeah.
but like we just, I mean, man, it's just fun to be out there and enjoyed it. You know, like it was a while there where I probably wasn't going to Menace games, but
Yeah.
they've turned around, not turned around, but like they've become so competitive. It's
Yeah.
like it's compelling. Like you have to
Yeah,
go.
you
Like
have
I
to go,
want to
yeah.
see these guys play. And they're
Yeah.
freaking good, man.
I mean, that final when there was over 7,000
God.
people,
Yeah,
it
it's
was
crazy.
like unbelievable,
Crazy.
absolutely unbelievable. And like the challenge is like for the front office boys to get those get more people in the stands more often. But like
Yeah.
if those people, there's had to be people that would never seen a Menace
Oh,
game,
100%.
and we're like, guess what? I'm going back next
There
year
might have
for
been
sure.
people that never seen a soccer game
Yeah.
before, but now the excitement is there for sure. And I think it was huge for the club to win it last year because now everyone knows that. So I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger, hopefully. And it's always great to have fans in the stadium. I think, especially for the guys, like to be able to play in front of that many people, it's like being a pro, and that's what they're aspiring to be. So they're getting that experience without even being a pro yet.
It's then, and they also feel that like that support too, right?
Yes.
They go like, okay, I'm just going to Des Moines for the summer to play soccer as good as I can. Oh wow, and they want me here. This
Yep.
is sweet. Like that makes a
100%.
big difference.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's like you're gonna see that this
Yeah.
year.
I agree.
But we're really excited to spend some time with you and have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Got a little frozen daiquiri to
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
to
Good
warm
one.
you up for the walk back.
I was gonna say like it's cold out, and we just
Yeah.
come to like a dodgy
Frozen
daiquiri
drinks in the
place.
freezing cold. Can't beat it.
Can we call you Deano? Are you a Deano?
My friends call me D, but you call me
Oh,
whatever you
D.
want.
All right.
Whatever
D.
you want.
D.
I'm easy.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys
Thanks.
for having me. Thank
Thanks.
you.
That was fun, Siebes, even despite the frozen daiquiri and the chilly weather.
Yeah, what a story.
Oh
He's
my
never going to
gosh.
forget that. We just led him, or you have led him on like a 15-minute walk through the streets of Kansas City, which downtown you would think there'd be multiple places to gather and have a few drinks, and there weren't.
And you
In this area, at least we were at.
You certainly wouldn't have expected the only place to be a frozen daiquiri shop, but the gentleman that owned the place was super gracious and turned the sound down of the music. So hopefully you guys could hear us talking. We enjoyed it. It was a good chat, and we are super pumped for the Des Moines Menace this summer. I am, at least.
Big
Just
expectations,
this.
right? They got back to back. They got to work on that now.
Man, has that ever been done? Like in PDL or USL too?
I don't know.
Hey, Google. Oh, okay, bad joke. Well, so thank you, Dean Johnson. Thank you, Charlie Bales, for setting that up. Charlie, your interview's coming up soon. If you would just actually come on the pod instead of shutting us down.
Where can they find us at, Ben?
All sorts of places. I would start at www.kifsoccer.com, but then I might hop on social media and Facebook, Instagram at KIF Soccer, Twitter at KIF_soccer. And then we're on TikTok. You should be watching us on YouTube. What else? Where else? I'm not on TikTok, but Blake is.
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks again, Dean Johnson and the Des Moines Menace. Up the Reds.